mountains of Area 51 in Nevada, and that since 1953, the American government had an insectoid alien that was working with them. His name was J-Rod.
J-Rod supposedly assisted the military in understanding and duplicating the incredible power systems and futuristic technology that was combined and created for the Kingman craft.
Shortly after Bill Uhouse broke the story, microbiologist Dan Burish came forward to confirm his claim. But according to Dan Burish, J-Rod claimed that he was not an alien. What he revealed was something even more shocking.
This insectoid alien, J-Rod, said that he had actually come from our future, and that at some time in the near future to us, there is a catastrophe on this planet, and much of mankind is destroyed, and that mankind splits into two different species, and one of these species goes and lives underground, and while underground they develop these insectoid traits, which is exactly what the Hopi and Zuni and even Navajo legends say, that during the transition period between the third and the fourth worlds, this above world of today was not habitable, and they had to go underground and live for some time with what they called the Ant. And you have to wonder if perhaps J-Rod is actually an insectoid human being from our own future.
Could the accounts of J-Rod confirm that the Hopi stories of ant people were more than just mythology? And if the so-called insectoids really do exist, is it possible that they are not aliens, but humans from the future?
Aliens appear to be a part of our human evolution over thousands of years. A lot of it has to do with our reproductive systems. Maybe they're actually trying to create a new race, possibly that will be able to withstand atmospheric changes here on Earth, or potentially lead us to a point where we have to leave the planet.
But if humans are someday forced underground by a cataclysmic event, does it even make scientific sense that we would evolve to have insect-like characteristics? According to some scientists, we are part insect already.
The work on the human genome has indicated that possibly up to half of our DNA may be the result of transposons. That's a fancy word for jumping genes. Genes that can jump from one species to another. Recently it was shown that Rhabdius, this is the sucking insect that spreads Chagas disease, not only can spread the trypanosome, the disease-causing agent, from organism to organism, it also can spread its own genes to those organisms. Humans get Chagas disease. So far they've not tested humans for this insect DNA. Odds are we do have some of these insect genes in our system. We know that some of these transposon probably came from diseases we caught when our ancestors were bitten by insects.
Could the studies on horizontal gene transfer one day prove that we really do have insect DNA in our genetic makeup? And if so, might it be not by chance, but by some extraterrestrial design?
Is it possible that evolution is being guided by some sort of greater galactic or universal intelligence? Could it be possible that certain circumstances, insects could be the dominant species that ultimately becomes sentient and develops hominid characteristics? The contact beam reports are consistent. Some people are seeing beings like this, communicating with them intelligently and for benevolent purpose.
The whole idea of mixing these life forms together is fascinating, making hybrids of the two of them. Throughout history, people have honored and even worshipped insects, built temples to them. It's quite possible that there is a insectoid type life on other planets that actually have intelligence beyond our own.
Is it possible that there really is a connection between insects and aliens? Are they related to beings from beyond our world, as some ancient astronaut theorists suggest? And if so, might they have a secret purpose we have yet to discover? Perhaps one day we'll find that alien beings don't only inhabit the furthest reaches of space, but that there are in fact billions here on Earth, and most of them right under our feet.
About it.
Hybrid offspring.
People believe that he was half dragon and half human.
And strange abductions.
These beings from outer space wanted to have sex.
In cultures throughout the world, there are tales of intimate encounters with extraterrestrial beings. But could these stories be more than just myth? Did aliens come to Earth to mate with humans? Clearly, there are entities out there which have an agenda, mating with human beings for their own purpose. Millions of people around the world believe we have been visited in the past by extraterrestrial beings. What if it were true? Did ancient aliens really help to shape our history? And if so, might we be the product of alien breeders? For Evolutionary Anthropology make a stunning announcement. They have determined that early humans not only coexisted on Earth with other more primitive hominids, they also mated with them. But even more astonishing was their finding that another, as yet unidentified species may also be represented in human DNA.
Up until now, most people have been familiar with the typical DNA model of human evolution, in which you have a very nicely defined progression from previous types of human or hominid life up to anatomically modern humans. That's not true anymore. And what we're seeing is evidence that there could have been interbreeding with what the actual mainstream media is calling mystery species of humans.
There's a big debate over Neanderthals and others, whether they had sexual contact with humans. But if there were primates already here who had evolved by Darwinian evolution, it's not a big step to take the next step and create a cross.
An anthropologist from the University of Wisconsin, Dr. John Hawks, did a comprehensive analysis of human DNA going back for many thousands of years, and what he found was astonishing. If you look at the DNA from someone in 3000 BC, and you compare that to the DNA of someone alive today, it has changed by 7%.
Mapping the human genome, Dr. Hawks found that in the past 5,000 years, our DNA has evolved at a rate 100 times greater than any previous 5,000-year period in our history.
So what happened in the last 5,000 years that altered altered the structure of human DNA by 7%. Is it possible that extraterrestrial humans interbred with us sometime in the last 5,000 years, and that could account for these monumental changes in the structure of human DNA?
Could it be that our ancestors are not only hominids who lived here on Earth, but also beings from beyond our world? Ancient astronaut theorists claim that evidence of this can be found in stories throughout history that depict humans mating with gods.
Throughout world cultures and mythologies, this idea of otherworldly beings, gods, supernatural beings, demons having sex with humans is very, very common. The way that we interpret that experience depends on the cultural and religious factors around us.
We can read about these accounts of all sorts of weird beings who had their way with humans. All we have to do is to approach these stories and look at them from a modern perspective, to eliminate the always suggested symbolism and look at these events for what they potentially really were: encounters with extraterrestrials.
There is abundant, undeniable evidence of human and extraterrestrial interbreeding. It's in so many different cultures that to suggest that it's all a conspiracy theory or a myth or a fantasy is completely illogical.
But if extraterrestrials have, in fact, been mating with human beings since ancient times, what might their purpose be? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer can be found in the biblical stories of the fallen angels.
There are references in the scriptures to rebellious angels who were in trouble with God, came to earth, found the daughters of men attractive and married them, which is to say had sex with them and produced offspring.
But God was not happy about it. The unhappiness of God about it doesn't appear in Genesis so much as it does in the extra-canonical Old Testament book of Enoch. In the book of Enoch, it actually gives the numbers. It says 200 angels disobeyed God and came to earth and mated with human women.
In the book of Enoch, these beings from outer space, they wanted to have sex with beauties on earth. So they all came together and they swore, we will do it, even if it's against the law.
The apocryphal text called the Book of Enoch was written before the time of Jesus, but was curiously removed from the Bible in the 4th century AD at the Council of Laodicea. According to many biblical scholars, the reason for this was most likely the controversy over these accounts of the fallen angels mating with daughters of men, accounts that the people of the time had taken as fact. But if the stories of the fallen angels are to be taken literally, how is it that spiritual beings were able to not only mate with humans, but even reproduce?
If angels are what we think they are today, these non-corporeal, certainly non-human entities, what on earth, why on earth, how on earth could there be any interest in a sexual relationship with human women? It's physically impossible. So therefore, if there's any legitimacy to what the Bible says, as we believe it there is, we must re-understand what these sons of God are. We have to change the interpretation and to interpret them in a modern way. And you see, of a sudden, it all makes sense. Now the problem is, if extraterrestrials had a sexual contact with our forefathers, that means that the genital apparatus must be similar. Otherwise, it's not possible. Now, here's the interesting thing. They didn't come down here for recreational pastime as we use sexuality today. They had an agenda in the manipulation of the human genetic pool.
Is it possible that the stories of the fallen angels are really depicting alien beings coming down to Earth to mate with humans and manipulate our genetic makeup. In this ancient tale that was excised from the Hebrew Bible, it also describes the offspring of these encounters, a race of giants known as the Nephilim.
Nephilim were beings that were a crossbreed between an angelic order and a human order, which apparently were very large.
The offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men were not completely human. They're what we might today call demigods. They were not necessarily Homo sapien men, but Homo superius. They had added abilities, added strength, very possibly added stature. These entities created devastation upon the earth. Why? Because they are not indigenous to this earth.
Ancient accounts of powerful beings that are the offspring of gods and humans can be found in cultures throughout the world. But if these giants were more than mythology, wouldn't we have found skeletal remains or other evidence of their existence? According to some ancient astronaut theorists, proof that these human-alien hybrids once walked the Earth may lie not in the Middle East, Africa, or even Asia, but on the other side of the world, in North America. Delavan Lake, Wisconsin, May 4th, 1912. According to a report in the New York Times, 2 local boys made an extraordinary discovery. 18 skeletons found in a series of ancient burial mounds, and all of them measuring between 7 and 9 feet tall. The enormous skeletons were reportedly submitted to the State Historical Museum, but some say they were later confiscated by the Smithsonian Institution.
There have been finds of giant humanoid